And we're live with this week's post status happiness hour with my good friend Cami MacNamara. And Cami
Hi.
does a lot. Hi, Cami. I know you do a lot of different things. You have your agency and all these, other things, podcasting and all the things you're doing now. But today we're really going to talk about your web designer habits, how you came up with that, what some of them might look like, how people can get in on that, and maybe some things that we're going to tease about what you and I are working on together too. So,
Oh,
welcome.
that sounds great. Thank you.
Yeah, welcome to the happiness hour. It's good to have you here.
Yeah, it's great to be here. I'm always happy to talk to you, Michelle. Like anytime
Likewise.
we get to spend time together, it makes my day.
Absolutely. I feel exactly the same way. For people who haven't met you, who don't, aren't as equated with who you are, can you just give us a little bit about where you're located, what you do with WordPress, maybe, anything that you want to mention about your life? I know you got a really cool dog, like all those. Just fill us in on the details for a minute.
Sure. Well, I am located. My name's Cami MacNamara, and otherwise known as Web Cammy. So my business is Web Cammy LLC, and I have been building websites since 2000, and started my business in 2002. So I just had my 23rd anniversary in business.
Wow.
I'm a solopreneur. I build websites for small businesses and nonprofits all over the United States, but I'd say the majority of my clients are here in the Seattle area. So I live in Seattle in a neighborhood called Alki Beach. And I often on social media am posting pictures of my neighborhood because, well, I just love it.
Because
It's
it's
like,
beautiful.
thank you. It's like I live in a California beach in a big city, so it's kind of nice. A
It
much
is.
smaller scale. Not nobody's hang tenning out in the water.
It's a little chilly up there for that,
It's a
probably.
little chilly. There's a lot of cold plungers that
Yeah.
I did it this year on New Year's Eve, or New Year's Day, but I'm not planning to do that again for a while.
I
So
know.
that's it. I have a husband. I've been married for 35 years, and I have a dog who's a 10-year-old Labrador named Tank. I also share a lot of pictures of him, and I have a 28-year-old son.
Ah, awesome. And everybody comments on the parking meter behind you. So
Oh
so
yes.
because I know everybody's like, what's the parking meter about? Fill us in real quick
Okay.
about that too.
Yeah. So my parking meter back here, my aunt worked for Rockwell Industries back in the 70s. And when I was a little kid, she gave me that parking meter. Now, my grandmother had this parking meter, the same kind, but she made it into a lamp. And
Oh.
you'd have to put coins in it to turn the lamp on. And as a kid, I was obsessed with that. So my aunt gave me that. You can see the faded number 8. I
Oh
put like
yeah.
a sticker on there for my 8th birthday, and it's there to remind me to keep my time top of mind all day long.
Which is one of the web habits, designer
Yes.
habits that you have. So one of the things that I was just like enamored with when you came out with that last year, I think you called it WP habits to begin with.
Yeah, I called it, yeah, Habits WP.
Habits WP, thank you.
I had WP Habits. I still have all those domains. So
Yeah, yeah.
yes.
So they can all point to the new one, right? And
Yes.
now it's webdesignerhabits.com, correct?
Yes, because I'm really sharing habits that aren't just for a WordPress designer.
Right.
They're really for anybody who's doing web design. And how it came to be was, I've been blogging about running my business for quite a while, and I did a blog post about habits, but my friend Anne Marie and I went on a women's business retreat with Kim Doyle in Costa Rica a couple years ago. And
Hmm.
I told her I want to figure out some way to share what I know and what I do, but I am not going to have time to develop big, long courses. I have a hard time taking big, long courses.
Same.
How can I put this in little tidbits for people and also for myself to work on each week? And that's kind of how it was born.
That makes sense. I loved when you first came out with that. I signed up right away. I get the emails every week. And then I don't, you keep giving me credit for it. I don't know if that's really true or not, but I was like, wow, you really have to have a whole website for this where there's an archive. So like if somebody's starting now, they can still go back and see the ones they missed and kind of
Yes.
have a little bit more to it.
Well, it was kind of always on my to-do list, but you're the person who lit the fire underneath me to go ahead and do that. And now, in addition to my website, I am building a circle community for this. So I'm hoping
Oh,
to
nice.
have that launch in the next few weeks.
Very cool. So there'll be a whole community about it.
Yes, because you know what helps you get your habits in order is having accountability with other people.
Yeah, that is very true. That is very true. Do you want to bring the site up on to share your screen and we'll take a look at it?
Yeah, sure. I'm not sure how to do that, but
that's okay.
Do you want to do it on your end? It's if that's easier for you. Is it
sure?
Present? I just haven't been in StreamYard in
that's okay.
a long time.
Okay, so I've got it up. I can no longer see you, so I'm going to scroll and let you explain what we're looking at then, okay?
Well, basically, this is just where you sign up, and I like big fonts, and I cannot lie. Okay, I'll just say that right off the bat. So when I designed this, I really wanted it to be bold and impactful. But basically, this is where you sign up. There's just a little bit of a story about me and how I came to be here. I have a podcast, which I have been doing off and on for a couple of years. I share the habit each week. And then I also report on how I did adopting the habit. And that's under the blog section. So that's kind of new. And I'm building out resources. And as I said before, I'm going to start a circle community for this because I just kind of feel like there's a need for it.
Mm-hmm. And you have your Webcammy Cafe over on Facebook.
Yes, I do. I started a Facebook group basically for friends that I was making as I became a GoDaddy Pro ambassador. This is back in 2018. And, I kept going to WordCamps and kept meeting people, and friends of friends are adding folks. And it's just really a nice small networking group and a good place just to meet other web designers.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, people are posting really cool things in there all the time and asking for feedback and having great conversations about some of those things.
Yeah, so. Because the numbers are small, it's kind of more intimate. And I really like that part of it.
I did too. And I will say, like, I'm not really doing a lot of web design anymore. If I do, it's mostly my own things that I'm doing, that kind of thing. But I think let me take this off. There we go. But I still, even though I'm not like web designer habit girl, finding so many of the things that you share to still be relevant, even if you aren't a designer or a small business owner. So there are constantly reminders in there of things that I need to be doing, even if I don't have clientele and I'm not designing for others.
Well, and you have contributed to those things. So when I listened to you speak at WordCamp US and you instructed me to stop saying I'm sorry all the time, I felt like you were just talking to me, Michelle. And I came back and made that a habit that everyone should adopt, because so many times we're replying to our clients in emails and saying, oh, I'm sorry. And really, we're not necessarily the ones that are sorry. It's just comes out of your mouth. As
there's
a habit.
Right. There's much better language, more empowering language, stronger language you can do to help move things forward rather than just saying I'm sorry, especially if we weren't the ones to make the mistake or have an error kind of thing. Yeah, for sure. I also say don't say thank you as often. And I don't mean that as like, don't be grateful, because certainly gratitude is something that I use all the time. But when you normally would say thank you just because, that's not a good use of thank you, right? There's other more empowering language you can use, especially like when somebody buys your software and their automated email says, thank you for purchasing XYZ. Yeah, I mean, of course, we're grateful that they purchased it, but do they care that we're grateful for the purchase? No, they want to know, what can I do with this and how can I make my life better because of it? And so, I just talk about some of those different things. So those are the things I talked about that I think you really liked at WordCamp.
Yeah, no, it was fantastic. It really made a strong impression on me. And yeah, I'm always listening for things that I'm learning from other people that I know are habits I need to adopt. And selfishly, creating this group is a way to keep me accountable myself. And so,
Yeah, for sure. I actually hired an accountability coach this year, not because I don't want things to move forward, but because of ADHD brain and out of sight, out of
right.
mindedness and things like that. I'm writing a novel and I want to make sure that I keep moving forward on the things that I want to keep moving forward on. And so she and I meet every other week on Zoom, and she helps me keep moving forward because I'm only accountable to other people for their things. I'm never accountable to myself for my own things because in my brain, everybody else comes first, right? So when I have to now be accountable to her, it means I'm being accountable to me through her as a proxy, and I keep moving things forward, if that makes any sense.
Right. Yeah, it's so true because we all start off our day with the best intentions, right?
Oh,
And
for
and
sure.
we
Yeah.
start off strong every day. And a lot of these habits that I've been nurturing myself, the dream is to be on autopilot, right?
Right.
With
Yeah.
some of them. And so whatever can help you, whether it's you hiring a coach to help you, it strengthens your resolve with the
Oh, for sure.
entire thing.
It really does. And I think that it's just a way of helping you move forward on your own projects as well.
Hmm.
Because I think, I mean, everybody does, but I can only speak from the women I know who talk about these kinds of things. I think as women, we always put ourselves last
Oh,
and we never prioritize those things. And so to have somebody help me stay accountable to listening to myself and moving myself forward, I think became an important thing for me.
yeah, I
So,
agree. I mean, my friend Anne Marie and we sing to each other a Marco Polo
yeah.
during the week when we go on walks, just to be accountable and say, hey, it's really cold out here, but I'm walking anyway. So
Yeah.
I have accountability buddies, including you, all the
Yep.
time.
Yep. And now we've got a third person helping us actually stay accountable to our project.
That's right. Because you can only imagine that it's a little difficult for us to stay on topic when we're meeting
Yeah, for sure.
sometimes. Yeah.
For sure. So, so about that project, do you want to tease that out a little bit?
Right. So Michelle reached out to me and said, hey, have you thought about doing some sort of planner for the habits that you're working on? And of course, it had entered my mind, but I'm a solopreneur. I manage like 200 websites in my care plan. There's just so much on my plate. And
Oh,
Michelle
sure.
said, I have this wonderful photography and I could work in tips. And I was all in the minute she said that. So we've been meeting every Friday for quite a while, talking about plans. And then we brought in a friend to help us get things rolling. And we actually have a date to come up
We
with
set our
like
first deadline.
after, but we have a date to come up with ideas for our layout. And both
Yes.
Michelle and I love planners. We already had a plethora of planners, but we both ordered a bunch to play around with and see what we liked.
Yeah, exactly. And I made the mistake of just buying a bunch, whereas you were really strategic and went to the store and took pictures of a bunch. Which was,
Yeah, I did that too, but
yeah,
I
you did
did
buy a few.
order a
Yeah.
few. I ordered a few like habit trackers, and everybody,
Yeah.
there's also online options
Hmm.
and Notion, and just using Google Sheets or something like
Hmm.
that. But I do think it would be fun to come up with something to accompany this
Yeah.
material.
Absolutely. Now, I think it was last week I received the anti-planner in the mail, and I posted it online saying, I don't know where this came from. If you sent this to me, thank you so much. Did I tell you my confession about it?
No, did you order it and forget?
Yes, it was part of my Shein order, but it came separately. It didn't say Shein, and I was like, where did this come from? And I just went over my purchase history there. I was like, well, I'll be darned. I bought that for myself.
Oh my gosh, that's so funny. I
Uh,
would do that. I would do that 100%.
Anne Marie says, love the Web Designer Habits website, Cammy. Me
Oh,
too, Anne
thank you,
Marie.
Anne Marie.
For sure. And David said he watched my WordCamp US talk and needs to improve the way he overuses thank you. So, yep, I think we all kind of do.
Yes, 100%. I've probably been doing that my entire life, right?
Yeah. Now, I know, like, I see tips all the time. I've written tips. I used to, blog for the local newspaper, business tips, things like that. What are some of your favorite habits that either you've incorporated into your life or that you just think are so cool that other people should do them too? Like, do you have like 2 or 3 that you would go, I think that's one of my favorites?
Yeah, time blocking. I've heard a lot of people be very resistant to time blocking, and every habit doesn't work for everyone, right? But
True.
for
Yeah.
me, I needed time blocking. Time blocking has been something that really shapes my day every single day. It helps me when clients send me incoming requests to say, I'm going to work on this on Wednesday at 4 o'clock because that's when I have maintenance on my schedule. So I absolutely love time blocking, and that has been a huge part of me being productive as a solopreneur. The next one is the Pomodoro technique. So I am not sitting for hours at a time because we can all get in the flow and not want to leave a project. And I remember in the early days having all kinds of neck pain and eye strain and everything else. It just is so important to take care of your back and everything else. And you can use the Pomodoro technique in concert with your time blocking and make sure that you're stepping away and getting up every 25 minutes. So working 25 minutes with a 5-minute break.
Yeah.
Works well for me.
Yeah. Now I do calendar blocking, but I use it to like block my calendar from other people being able to schedule on my calendar just to get and not assign particular tasks, but just so I can work through my list of things that I need to do, or honestly, like to sleep in a little bit on that morning if I need to. Before I was doing that, I would I'd give people my calendar links, and I would wake up in the morning and I felt 15 maybe
you
10.
have no time. You have no time to work because it's
it's like,
meetings.
when am I going to run to the bathroom or have lunch at that point? So yeah, for sure. Oh, look.
Yeah.
It's very karmic that Christos got in at the first thing he heard was the Pomodoro technique. Not the best with dealing with his ADHD most times.
Right.
Trust me, we know. We are right there with you. You are not alone.
Right. If somebody wants to see how I time block, if you go to the WordPress TV, the WordCamp TV site, I'm getting that wrong, but I spoke at Vancouver 2023, Vancouver WordCamp, and I shared in my slides my time blocking techniques.
Oh, cool. I've got that right here. Hold on. I will put that in the chat.
Okay.
Like,
Thank you for doing all the things. I need to practice with StreamYard. I'm a huge fan now that I heard their music for testing your speakers, and anybody else who's done that will know what I'm talking about.
I have never done that until today when you told me to do that, and I was like, oh, that's pretty cool, actually.
Yeah. They have a whole song just about testing their speakers.
You're testing your speakers. You're testing your speakers.
It's pretty hilarious. With like a band and everything. So yeah.
I know. They I'm gonna guess it's AI generated, but even so.
It was cool. Great. It was hilarious.
Some of my favorite things I've learned is over the years, especially when I was freelancing and I could write off so many of my expenses, was to keep an envelope in my car with the month listed on it. So if it was, March, I had that envelope either in my purse or in my car so that like whenever I was shopping, picking up things, I would put the receipts in there for that month so that I could then at the end of the month tally things up, keep track of it. And when it came to tax time, I wasn't going, where are all the receipts and what did I do and how much money? And I was a step ahead or 2 steps ahead of the game at that point in time. So that was one that I really liked. The other thing that I have taught myself recently, so we'll see if it hangs on as a habit, is I have a tendency, like throughout the day, as I'm on calls, I make little notes. And now at the end of the day, instead of just having this giant pile of notes, I'm transcribing them into action items and keeping track of them in my little like method of how I'm trying to keep on top of tasks. So I don't go, what was that I had to do? And where was that piece of paper? And I can't read my handwriting and all those things, so that while it's still fresh in my mind, I'm translating things into tasks, because otherwise things fall through the cracks. And I'm not a fan of letting things fall through the cracks.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, that's a great plan. It's kind of like at the end of every day, I'm always thinking, what promises did I make today? Right.
yes.
And yeah, it's a very helpful to get all your tasks actually on your calendar too. So you got the tasks and you have them scheduled.
Yes, exactly. And I discovered today that my Google Calendar was not able to send me those 2-minute warnings before an event happened. And I was running late to everything because I was relying on those before. And so I was able to troubleshoot that today. And now I'm getting notifications on my calendar. So sometimes you just have to dig in and figure out what's wrong and how to fix it. That's for sure.
Right. And, we get so involved in our day to day that if you don't get that ping right before something happens, you can completely forget.
Yes, exactly. Now, one of the things that you do as an agency is you actually have care plans. And how many websites are you caring for?
Over
at any given
200,
time?
over 200 a month. And, I incrementally built that over time. It's been 10 years. So I didn't go from 0 to 200. I have it down. I use Managed WP. It's a tool that I've been using since the beginning of time, I feel like. And it is such a great tool for me because I can start my day, and as the only person in my business, the first thing I log into every day is Managed WP, and it's the last thing I leave at the end of every day because it's my control panel for getting to those client sites in a hurry.
Yeah.
It also is like, it's not just for the client. The client, I love that they trust me to take care of their websites. They are doing me a favor because if they have an emergency, it doesn't disrupt my life entirely to help them because I have what I need to help them versus leaving it up to them to have a backup. And oops, I figured out I wasn't really making backups the whole time. I can't tell you how many times that's happened.
Oh, I can imagine. And you're also still designing at the same time. So taking on new clients and doing all the work to keep the business going, which is why those habits are so important.
Yeah, I'm in a networking group, and I took a couple of years off because my parents passed away, and I just got back into it in September. So every Thursday morning, I'm going to an in-person meeting. I have kind of some duties as a person in the group. I meet with other people. But it brings in a steady flow of business. So yes, I'm spinning plates all the time.
What is a habit that you would think would be helpful for people who work alone remotely, like me, right? I'm in my house 24/7 basically, unless I'm going out meeting somebody for dinner to go shopping. So I work here. I try to meet people online, have that kind of personal touch here and there. What would your suggestion be for like online networking and things?
Well, I would join some online groups. I'll mention Admin Bar. That's a really good one to get kind of like a really big, vast. It's huge, right? But you get a lot of different types of web designers in there to connect with. A group like mine, Web Cami Cafe, smaller, anybody who's just starting out is welcome to join. But you can also join groups that are just interests that you have that aren't directly web designers, but it might be another tool that you use. Like I'm in the Beaver Builder group because that's the tool that I use. And I'm just interacting with people is important. It's actually a line item. It's a time block for me to go online and log into all the places I'm a member of and actually participate and answer a question or give somebody a like or a heart. And that gets you some exposure. But really, I do think that networking in your local area, because nothing really takes the place of human to human contact. So tonight I was going to a women in marketing networking event. It's been canceled because we're supposed to have severe weather tonight, which is a little crazy. But getting out of your office and interacting with people, and even if you're an introvert in a small way, it can really just boost your spirits. Like, you might dread it before you go, but after it's over, I guarantee you'll feel good about it.
And Zach mentions, don't forget post status for the events.
Yes, of course, post status.
We have lots of good conversations in there too, of course.
Yeah.
I think that's great. I love, personally, I love getting together with people, even if it's online. And one of the things, like one of the ways you and I grew our friendship was, I was like, does anybody want to co-work during COVID? And you're like, I'll do it. And like, that was our first really like face-to-face, if you will, even though it was virtual.
And let's just admit, we didn't work at all.
No, not at all.
We didn't work at all. And we met at a WordCamp that was online, fully online. I don't remember if it was WordCamp Europe but it was fully online, and GoDaddy had me working in their virtual booth. And that's how
might have been Denver. I don't know.
Yeah, or San Antonio.
Yeah,
that one was one of the first ones to go online.
Yeah, that could have been, for sure. It's so hard to remember 5 years ago.
Yeah.
And yet it's hard to forget 5 years ago too.
Yes, I know.
And it's funny because I've recently seen these memes like, like 5 years ago today, which was, March 13th. And I was like, what happened 5 years ago today? And then I was like, oh, wait, that was like lockdown. I remember that.
I was flying home. I was visiting my folks in Northern California, and I was flying home, and it was surreal because they had just closed down Seattle. Like, I was coming home and like everything was going to be closed, and they were spacing people on the airplane, so you weren't seated next to people, and that was just a bizarre.
It was so surreal. It felt like ghost towns, and like you could walk down the middle of Main Street and like an old Western, like draw,
Yeah, you'd get off at, because I flew home like 20 times during COVID, and there were times when you would get off the plane at the airport, there was nobody there. Everything was closed. It was just like walk right through, and it was
really insane for sure. Anybody in the who's watching right now, do you have a web habit that you've developed as a web designer or agency owner, or just in business in general, that you think you'd like to share? Maybe Cami will put it in one of her newsletters. I mean, with your permission, of course.
Yes, of course.
Because I'd love to hear what some people have. So get typing in those comments. We want to hear what some of your habits are. I right now am laid off from a full-time job, and one of the things that I have been maintaining as a habit is getting up every day and coming to my desk and doing something at my desk so that I don't break that continuity of sitting at my desk and doing work. And so I with the exception of one day that I took off to do something else, the family oriented, but I sit here every day. Some days I'm done at 2. Some days I'm done at 7. It depends on what I'm working on and what meetings I have and those kinds of things. But it is actually pretty exciting to think about continuity that way. And so even if you aren't working full time, or you have a day that you don't have other obligations, getting up and sitting at your desk and making that commute down the hall, as I always say, I think is another habit to really be in. So, here we go. Anne Marie says she learned from you to check email 3 times a day, because checking emails constantly is a really bad habit of hers. Which, for sure. I have my phone in my pocket all the time, so I try to set it aside with notifications off when I'm at my desk, because otherwise I will react to every notification. So 100%, that is
that's one of the habits that is never going to be an autopilot for me. I have to fight my urge to check my email all day to get that done. And I've even put a tab on my Gmail that is called Focus. It's like an empty inbox that I put that up so I'm not looking when I shouldn't.
Yep. Nope. I get that. Zach has one too. I set aside time to learn, time to create, time to focus on getting work done, and time to handle operations every day. It sounds like that time blocking you were talking about, whether it's the same time every day, just making sure that you're hitting all those marks and continuing moving everything forward in a regular fashion. I think that's a great idea, Zach, for sure.
Yeah, I totally agree with Zach. I even have like my wake up block at the beginning of my day,
Yeah.
and it's like it's for me to wake up, shower, exercise, and I put whatever. So if one day I don't want to wake up and I just want to sleep until 7:30 or whatever, I can. It never happens, but I could. Like my time block would allow it. It's
Yeah, yeah,
flexible. Yeah.
yeah, for sure. I made a decision earlier this week that made me so happy, and that like my Calendly links have been set from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. and I hate 9 o'clock meetings. So I was like, why do I have that on my calendar then? So I went in and changed my Calendly to start at 10 in the morning instead, because it's my calendar. I can do what I want with it. So if I don't want 9 o'clock meetings, I don't have to have a 9 o'clock meeting. I was like, why did
Yeah.
I not think of that before? Like, how silly was that,
Right.
right?
Yeah, I use the time blocking in two ways. I'm blocking the time that I need to work, and I'm available for appointments. And over the years, I have really shrunk those hours that I'm available for appointments down to, I think it's
Yeah,
about 6.5 hours a week now. That's
nice.
it. And but if I don't do that, then I am working constantly on weekends and after hours because I don't have enough time in my
Right.
day. So
Zach doesn't start appointments till 11 because his morning are for creativity, which I think is perfect.
yeah.
Yeah. So
And
I don't know
another
what.
go
Go ahead.
ahead. Another way to do that is to make one day all appointments. And I do
Right.
that as well. And it's exhausting, but it kind of frees up the other days for me to not have
Yeah.
meetings all of them.
Sometimes it's hard. So like this month I've been doing all of these like over 50 5-minute interviews with women all over the
Right.
world. And so I've had my calendar running from anywhere from 9 in the morning until 7 or 8 o'clock at night, because I've been interviewing with women from Uganda and with women from Asia and women from Australia, and like complete opposite time zones of me. So I've tried to be a little more gracious with the time available to make sure that I can represent women all over the world and not just in my convenience, right? So
Mm-hmm. Right.
sometimes it's a little more challenging for sure, but that's finite, right? So that's not going to go on forever, and
No. Yeah,
it's
you
some.
have to have flexibility because we all
Yeah,
have those things. We have those clients that can't meet during the times we're available. So we're not
right,
going to say, I can't meet with you ever. You're
right,
going
right.
to adjust and then you steal that time
Hmm.
from wherever you took it from. So if a client enters something that is supposed to be work time for me, I'm going to reach out in the future and close off meeting time to make up for
Hmm.
it.
Right.
So, yeah.
And I have my regular Calendly slots available, and I have a secret calendar. If somebody is on the other side of the world, they're like, "Oh, I can't make any of those times." I'll be like, "Well, will this calendar work for you?" And it's got more expansive, but it isn't available to everybody all the time. So I try to
Yeah.
little tricks that kind of work for me here and there.
Yeah, the Calendly secret meeting is
Yeah,
fantastic.
it is. And Anne Marie says she blocks out Fridays, no meetings that day. It is freeing, absolutely, for sure. Um, Zach, are you the Zach that joined the? I guess we don't need to put that up there. You can just respond to that one. And Claudia says she has a secret scheduler too. Very helpful. Absolutely. And it feels almost clandestine, right? Like you've got this like, nobody knows about this unless I bring them into the fold. So I'm like,
Well,
here's my secret calendar.
I feel a new habit coming along right here. I think that would be
Woohoo.
I mean, you think about yourself as a web designer, and you're just starting out. And a lot of these things like setting up secret meetings and stuff, these are things we learn over time. Right.
Right.
Like I didn't always have the secret meeting thing. And then once I started using Calendly more on the regular backup, it's been 5 or 6 years or something,
Mm-hmm.
way before COVID. But
Right.
it just really was like, wow, this is cool.
Yeah.
I like had a calendar for happy hours,
Oh yeah.
before
For
COVID.
sure. Yeah. And I've learned like for my WP coffee talk, I have only one evening and Saturdays available. And if I know I want to sleep in on a certain Saturday, I just block that day on my calendar and just went block, and then people can't schedule for that week.
Right.
And it doesn't have to be right away. People can schedule for next month, or a few weeks out or that kind of thing. So nothing is urgent when you're recording a podcast.
Yeah, and that's the other thing about scheduling, like or online scheduling, is I usually make sure there's like a 12-hour buffer between when somebody can book with me, so I don't get I might when I start my day, I know what my schedule is. I don't want people to just be hopping in there and turn like a 1 meeting day into a 5 meeting day all of a sudden.
Yeah. Zach says he also has a schedule that isn't as locked down for VIPs. I'm assuming, Zach, that's the link you give me. Just asking. Can I give you another habit I developed this year?
Yeah.
Which is I mostly travel for business to this point and occasionally for fun. I actually have a whole kit of things that I keep in my suitcase. Duplicates of things. Like I have, my toiletries bag. And I have duplicate minis of all of the toiletries, so I don't have to take things from my bathroom and push back and forth. So I keep that in there. I keep a little extension cord in there, and I keep my international plugs in there, so that an extra watch charger, like all of the things, extra phone charger, so that I don't have to make that list every time I travel. I have all those regulars already in the suitcase. All I really have to do is anything specific to that trip and my clothes.
Oh, that's a great idea.
It's a huge time saver, and it saves me from forgetting things like Tylenol or those kinds of things, because I've arrived places before with a horrible headache and don't have any Tylenol with me, and then I have to go in search of in a foreign city that I don't know and find some Tylenol, or pay at the airport 10 times what Tylenol costs, those kinds of things. So
travel hacks, that's a whole nother there are a lot of great tips for that. When I was going to California a lot to see my folks, I had a hanging toiletry bag, and in the morning when I was getting ready, that's when I was packing it.
So, that's a good idea too.
That was kind of a nice streamlined way to take care of that.
Absolutely. But I have just purchased extra plug, power strips and things that I can plug all my things into for charging overnight in a hotel room. I have enough of those that I keep one in the suitcase, so it just makes me happy.
Well, I know when I see you in Arizona in about 3-4 weeks, that's going to be how you're rolling in already.
Exactly, already ready. That's right. So, and Zach says, that his camera bag is go ready at all times, as is mine, Zach. I made the mistake once of not charging batteries, and I got an hour and a half away and I had no batteries charged. And I was like, well, it's a pretty drive, but the birds aren't going to be photographed today because I forgot to charge things. So yeah. And Claudia has a bag of stuff in the car all the time. Yeah, I have a little pair of
scissors. That's a good idea.
A little mini pair of sewing scissors in my car, because when I get a Starbucks or something, the hole is never big enough to actually drink through. You know how you have to have that second hole?
Yeah.
So I'm poke it through with an extra pair of scissors, because I made the mistake of using a pen once and ended up with ink in my coffee, which I don't recommend to anybody. But yeah, I have lip balm in my car. I have that. I have a nail file and clippers and things that you wish you had when you suddenly go, broke a nail. What am I going to do now? Kinds of things. So great advice. All great advice. So, I'm loving all the tips and tricks from people in the comments too. Any last minute before we start to wrap things up here, folks? If you've got any other ideas, throw them in there. Also, if you have any questions, we want to hear them. Please put those in the comments as well. If you have a question for Cami or me. Panic mode is the go-to before travels. Yeah, I'm a last minute packer, which is also why I have those things packed in advance, because otherwise I'd be like, oh, I forgot my toothpaste, and oh, where's my toothbrush, and all those things. So I mean, you can own more than one toothbrush. Did you know that?
Yeah, I will get my suitcase out a few days early and just start throwing things at it. It's not packed, but it's a pile. And I just then the night before, that way if I'm doing laundry, I can just put stuff in there and fold it.
Yeah. Anchor makes a USB-C charger hub that can charge up to 4 devices, including a laptop. Oh, that's a great idea.
Awesome.
I had something like that, and it got confiscated in Seoul. So I lost that.
Oh, no.
It was in my suitcase. They told me I could go all the way down to baggage claim and back up through security, or I could toss that $30 charger, and I said, go ahead and throw it away. So, yeah, That's another thing. Don't pack things in your suitcase that can't travel. Good advice. Yeah, any last minute thoughts, Cami? Anything that you wished I'd asked you or that you want to share?
I just believe that if you can make a tiny change every day and it helps you run your business better, that is, sometimes we just get so bogged down with what we should be doing, or maybe we want to make a change and it seems too daunting, and just breaking things down into tiny little increments that you can deal with. And that goes for like a task, like a redesign. If you're feeling overwhelmed, just do one little thing. If you only work on it for 30 minutes today, consider it a win. So celebrate all the little things that you do that make a difference and help you make it through your day. So often we just don't give ourselves enough credit and can be too critical of ourselves and how our day goes. Nobody has a perfect day. Maybe, and if you have one, you're not going to have one the next day. Right?
That's true. So you seldom get 2 in a row.
You seldom get 2 in a row. And just, whatever you do, some days, if you have a bad day, maybe you needed the day off. And just in that instance, you're taking care of yourself, and that's a good day.
Absolutely. Do you have your celebration jar there on your desk still?
I do, but I emptied it today because it got so full that
that's awesome.
I had, like it got really full. But yes, I put little Post-it notes in here with what I accomplished, just one little task at a time, and I keep it. Normally I empty it on Friday, but I kind of worked a little on Sunday, so it got full early.
Yeah. Zach says the best process for writing down your systems is to have the people doing the work write the SOP. Yeah, that's true too. Absolutely.
Well, that would be me. I'm the person.
For a lot of us, it's just ourselves, for sure.
Yeah. But yes, I do agree that like having those things written down that you do is just a fantastic way to kind of map out what you got going on.
And they're all written down at webdesignerhabits.com. How was that for a segue? That was pretty cool.
That was pretty awesome. Thank you, Michelle.
You're welcome. It is free to sign up for this newsletter. It is free to join Cammy's Facebook group. If you are interested in learning more, webdesignerhabits.com will get you all the stuff to sign up for that newsletter. It is a treat. It's the one of the only 3 newsletters that I read top to bottom every week. So thank you.
Thank you. It isn't complex. It's just like one thing. I don't load it up a whole bunch of other things.
That makes it easy to read, right? So it's easy to consume for sure, which is one of the reasons I love it. And if it doesn't apply to me, that's okay. I still learn something. And if it does, great. Yeah. So like I don't have a lot of clients, so I'm not writing newsletters to clients, but I do a newsletter for Post Status and staying on track for that and all the things. So anyway, so thank you, Web Cammy, for joining me today.
Thank you for having me, Michelle. I really appreciate it, and I so appreciate you in our community. You are the glue that keeps the WordPress community together.
I try. I do what I can to try to help others along the way and to create a happy place. So thank you. Everybody else, I'm working on my guest for next week. It most likely will be Roger from Kinsta, so I'm not going to put that in writing, but we're working on some details. If not, then I'll have somebody else, and that will be upcoming. But if you have something you want to talk about, a project that you want to share, get in touch with me. Maybe you can be on the next Post Status Happiness Hour. So thank you, everybody who's been here all day chatting with us, or for the hour chatting with us, and really appreciate all of you. And again, Cammy, thank you. Appreciate your time today, too.
Yeah, thanks for having me, and I really enjoyed meeting everyone and reading all your comments. It was
comments are great. Yeah, for sure. Awesome. All right, we'll see everybody next week.
Bye.